All right, guys, welcome back to Frog Boy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I want to talk about what side should we choose, Nvidia or AMD, this generation for your GPU. So let's talk about what we know. Okay, we know what the Nvidia marketing is this generation with multi-frame gen. So we're expecting like a 5 to 15% uptick over, you know, the models that these new cards from the 50 series are replacing in pure rasterization. But there are new features. They have neural rendering. There's, you know, there's DLSS4. There are, you know, transducers, transformers. There's transformers and stuff. So there's some new tech. There is some new hardware tech that are in the new 50 series cards that could potentially propel these cards into a different spot. We're definitely not going to know until we have benchmarks from everybody else, until we actually see what these cards are capable of. Is that going to be enough to convince us to upgrade our GPUs, or to move, you know, if we're on AMD, move over to Nvidia, or vice versa, you know, just moving over to AMD or whatever. A lot of the claims that Nvidia made with the multi-frame generation, they do seem like they're like way out in left field, but my friends, I have a 7900 XTX and I am able to utilize frame generation in-game, also stacking that with AMD's fluid motion frames too, and it actually is a pretty playable experience a lot of the time. And then you have other features like lossless scaling that you can pick up and you can use on your cards right now. And a lot of people, you know, I think the community's kind of pretty torn on the whole frame generation thing. Some people absolutely love it. Some people absolutely think it's a scam. And then some people are just like, it works sometimes, it doesn't. So, I mean, there's a lot of discourse when it comes to frame generation and different methods. Obviously, AMD has their solution. Nvidia has a solution. Intel's going to have a solution. Plus, there's the lossless scaling that is made by modders, of course. So there are options to utilize this. And there are actually use cases that it actually works pretty good. I've completely changed my tune on the whole frame generation thing, and I kind of look at it more as a tool. It's another tool in the toolbox when it comes to PC gaming. Now, is it something that you can use as a crutch? You know, guys, I've got a powerful GPU. I've got a 7900 XTX, and once you have a high end, like I can push most of the games, play with the settings, stuff like that, and get really good results. I can. Like I was sitting here earlier today before going to the funeral services for my brother's wife, and I was testing out a game on my ultra wide monitor. I was playing around with that. I was utilizing the frame generation, all of that stuff. And I'm sitting here and I'm playing it and I'm like, gosh dang, man. Well, actually, no, I think I was on the 4K screen. I was on the 4K screen because I was testing The Witcher 3. I wanted to see what it would do at 4K because I don't think I've ever tested it at 4K with frame gen and everything. I have tested it on the monitor at 3440 by 1440p, running that game at like 240 frames a second, and it was just incredible. Like it felt very, very smooth. It felt very good. But you're going to want to use this with a controller. I think frame generation is played best with a controller. If you're using a mouse and keyboard, to me, I just, you know, you can like feel and see that latency and stuff. Like if you're moving in a straight line, not so bad. Fast turns, stuff like that, but like slow turns, like it feels kind of jerky, at least in my situation. So not necessarily something that I would recommend, but if you're using a controller, I think the latency, the absorption and stuff like that, it's almost like a dampening effect. Like you're on the controller and it just like you're moving the controller and it's like registering on screen what you're doing fast enough to where I don't think there's not a big enough disconnect, at least for me anyways. There's not a big enough disconnect in what my hands are doing and what I'm seeing on the screen. So I feel like frame generation on a controller is pretty good, and I think that these companies are actually betting on that to be the driving force. And when you look at things, okay, like I was at the funeral today, I was talking to all my nephews, all of them, you know, and they're like early 20s to like, you know, early 30s or whatever, and most of them are rocking, you know, like 60 series cards and stuff. You know, I mean, like that average card, you know, like the average gamer, that's what they're buying into, that's what they're picking up. And, you know, when you look at that, and that's my biggest thing when it comes to like the frame generation thing is, how does it perform on the affordable GPUs that people are actually buying? That's the main question, and that's what I think that reviewers, myself included, should be testing when these new cards come out is, how does it perform, how does it scale, and what does it feel like? What benefit is it for the vast majority of gamers out there? Like, we know the top end cards are gonna do it. Like my 7900 XTX, it feels fine. Playing Spider-Man at 300 frames a second, it feels fine. Like it absolutely feels incredible. I can play that game. I don't feel like I'm at a disadvantage. Same goes for like Horizon Forbidden West and all of the other games that I'm able to utilize this feature on. It doesn't take away from the experience at all, but it does add a level of immersion that absolutely you benefit from. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I know the top end cards can do it. Your 5090 is going to be fine, blazing fast with 4x frame gen. It's going to be fine. Like, it's going to be playable. Like the average consumer that buys that card, so you have like your enthusiasts that know what they're buying. They know they're buying that card for the reasons. Those guys aren't going to be fooled. Like, you're not fooling the freaking the high end PC bros. You're not fooling them. But the casual that goes out and is like, man, I just need the best, I'm sick of PlayStation, and they buy a 5090, it's gonna blow their absolute freaking minds. Like, it's gonna blow their minds. They're gonna feel right at home. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So we already know that the higher end cards are going to absolutely deliver on those features. Absolutely. Like, it is going to be a good experience going forward for those people. Plus, frame generation actually does benefit CPU usage. It absolutely helps with bottlenecks when there's CPU. It does a good job at smoothing out and restoring that frame rate, getting rid of, you know, like intrusive freaking like 1% lows and stuff like that. Like, it gets rid of them bottlenecks. It really does help smooth things out. Like, it's been pretty decent playing around with that. Now, like I said, guys, since the Nvidia came out and was talking about that, I have went pretty much like I've went into this like little rabbit hole, like testing the frame generation scenarios and stuff with the ability, I mean, with the hardware that I actually have right now, which is, you know, obviously my PC and then obviously my ROG Ally, you know, trying to test some of this stuff. I will have some videos coming out a little later utilizing the ROG Ally with some of the frame generation stuff, some of the, you know, the other features that are on there. I will be doing that to try to show you guys so that you guys can see just what kind of happens on a game like Star Wars Outlaws. But when we actually look at things, you know, from the AMD side of things, which we really don't know a whole lot yet. We have rumors. We have rumors that have come out. We've heard, you know, other channels talking about where this card's going to be, where it's going to slot in between a 4070 Ti Super, just under a 4080 Super. So we're hearing like this level of performance from this card. And if AMD really does come out at a $500 price point for this, that there can really tip the scales, assuming that the other features, ray tracing, upscaling, all of these other features, obviously the 9070 XT is going to be able to take advantage of FSR 3.1 frame generation, as well as AMD's fluid motion frames too. So you will actually have that advantage already built into these cards, and it will work on the level of a, you know, if it's in between 4070 Ti Super, 4080 Super in the power range, yes, this is going to feel pretty good. Like, this is going to trick your brain. This is absolutely going to pay dividends for you to be able to use these features. Now, the biggest wild card with AMD right now, in my opinion, is going to be FSR 4. How is it going to be supported? Will it have mass adoption? Is AMD going to pay for mass adoption? How are they going to get this technology into the hands of multiple gamers so that they can spread the word, so that they can do what they have to do as gamers and as, you know, content creators or whatever, to be able to help the uptick for adoption when it comes to AMD GPUs over Nvidia? Will these will these GPUs actually be able to perform at that level, which would, I would essentially think that this 9070 would literally be competing well into like with the 5070 Ti, above that, in between, something like that. Like this 9070 XT, according to leaks and rumors, should be a very potent card and definitely worth having. Now, me myself, guys, I'm definitely going to pick one up because I'm interested to see how FSR4 works. If I'm not going to get it on my 7000 series card, I want to do my due diligence and actually at least buy it, check it out, play with it for a while, see how it is, give you guys my feedback on it. The same goes for the 50 series cards. I was going to buy a 5080, but I don't know. Like, I'm going to try to get it. I'm going to try to get it at launch. If I can't get a Founders Edition card, I'm not doing it. I'm going to try for the Founders Edition card. And if I can get one, cool. If I cannot, then I will probably just be skipping on that and probably going with either the 5070 Ti or the 5070 when those are available, because those are usually more readily available and easier to get in a Founders Edition card. So we're going to find out. Like, we're going to find out. That's the plan going forward, to try to see what we can get and then, you know, be able to utilize these features, because I am actually a lot more interested in seeing if these techs, these software features, these software upgrades for both AMD and Nvidia are going to actually appeal to the common gamer, because that's what matters the most, to be completely honest with you. Like, yes, the high-end cards, we already know that they're gonna perform. Like, we already know they're gonna be great with these features. What about the cards that the mainstream PC gamer can actually afford? Because whether you like it or not, you're paying for these features. Like, you're paying for these features, but we need to see how they perform. We need to see if they're actually going to deliver on the experience that Nvidia is saying. So, I mean, like, take for instance, we get a 5070, we throw on Cyberpunk, we're running it with, you know, path tracing, we're running it with multi-frame generation, DLSS 4, DLSS, you know, ray reconstruction, all of these features, and we're getting 4090 performance out of that, and it actually feels good. Does that justify the uptick? Will that be enough to justify the money spent on a 5070? Because at the time of this video, we are not actually sure if this is going to be like, obviously this feature has to be baked into the games for it to work. Like, we're gonna need support for this from developers for these features to work. And we all know that both AMD and Nvidia pay games for exclusive features and stop the other side from actually getting that. I personally am going to devote the channel toward trying to get that to stop, trying to get that to end. I would like to see developers bring all features, all current features from all GPU vendors to all games. I think that we're done. We're past this whole exclusive stuff. I mean, Xbox is breaking down walls with the exclusivity stuff. I would really like to see exclusivity be a thing of the past. It needs to be more consumer focused, and developers need to worry about the consumers more than they need to worry about the back alley deals that they do with these developers, with the GPU manufacturers. That there's something that I would really like to, you know, amplify my voice a lot. I want to amplify that feeling a lot. I want this to be a thing of the past. I want all GPUs to be able to run the game at their fullest potential at launch. At launch. I want that for all my fellow gamers. If you choose an AMD GPU, I want you to be happy and have all the features. If you choose Nvidia, I want you to be happy and have all the features. I mean, you go back to Starfield, didn't even have DLSS at launch. And like, it was obviously running very well on AMD cards, giving, you know, AMD fans like this, like, oh my gosh, it's great. And then they bring out the Nvidia features and now it's running better on the Nvidia GPUs, which is pretty much like a slap in the face. It's like, what the freak? It should have just been right from the get-go. I mean, you look at a game like Call of Duty running significantly better on AMD, And we know that the Nvidia GPUs can run that game that fast. Like, we know that. We know that we know that this is possible. So I would like to see developers, especially somebody like Call of Duty, they have plenty of money to optimize for everything. They should do this and set a standard and pass this knowledge on to other developers so that we have better consensus in how our video games are playing on these consoles, on these systems. And, you know, maybe there should be just one kind of AI upscaler, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm living in wishful thinking, and obviously exclusivity sells things. That's why Nvidia does very well. They have exclusive features. Obviously AMD needs to compete. They do need to do better in terms of being able to bring out features, at least the speed at which they are enabled. That needs to be better on the AMD side. Absolutely. Now, like I've said before, okay, I've said this multiple times. I really do try to avoid using upscaling as much as possible. If I absolutely need it, then I use it. But if I don't need it, I usually don't use it. As long as I'm over 60 frames, as long as I'm getting a playable good experience, I'm not worried about it. I don't worry about it. I prefer the native rendering of how the game looks. But I am very excited, and I want to see how FSR 4 is going to run on these games. Like, I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to give you my feelings about it. The same goes for the 50 series cards. I'm excited to see how neural rendering and all of this other tech is going to work, and I want to share that with you guys. I do. It's just crazy, guys. I get all worked up at the beginning of these launches and stuff, and then I forget, and then I get all the comments, you know, from everybody, you know, telling me, oh no, I mean, your card can't do that and it's trash, and I don't need to hear that, bro. I would like what the heck, you know? I bought AMD. I want to see AMD bring new features to the cards. Absolutely, and you should want that from your GPU vendor too. I don't know why you guys wouldn't want that. These GPUs that we're buying now, guys, and the prices that we're paying for them, it's not too much to ask for features to be backported. It's not too much to ask. Like, it should be there. And I honestly think that the whole AI upscaling from AMD, they've been working on this for multiple generations, obviously. They've been working on it for a long time, trying to get it right. Obviously building this tech into these cards. For the last few generations, there have been AI tech being added to each and every generation of RDNA. So yes, they all have some level of being able to do this. They didn't just all of a sudden like, oh yeah, we created these AI accelerators and we put them in there. No, they've been working on this for this many generations. So now they need to show us the fruits of that labor and bring it to every GPU that it can work on. I believe it will work on RDNA 3. I believe it will work on RDNA 2, just due to the fact that it works on PlayStation 5 Pro. Now I know, you're going to come at me and you're going to be like, but Mark Cerny said they did not do anything hardware-wise. It is all algorithm and software-based, that they were able to utilize different parts of the freaking GPU to produce 300 tops. 300 tops, okay? Go watch the Mark Cerny video over and over and over again until you understand what he's saying. They didn't add actual hardware. There's hardware already there. They just utilized it properly. They utilized it in a way that makes it possible for them to do PSSR. So go back and watch it. I think that you guys will find it very informative. Maybe I just misunderstood him when he was talking. Maybe I hear what I want to hear too. That's possible. But I'm pretty sure that PlayStation 5 Pro is still RDNA 2. Like I mean, you've heard other reviewers. It's the same. There's no difference. You've heard other people say that. You've heard that. They all say it's the same. They all say there's not a big enough difference, and that is because RDNA 2. They've doubled the RDNA 2 chip to make it so you can run PSSR on there. That whole extra power is PSSR. But you can use it just natively, but it is PSSR power. That's what they added it for. That's why it has twice as many freaking, that's why they doubled the freaking CUs, because they needed that. They needed those extra CUs just to get enough ray accelerators, or not ray accelerators and, you know, AI accelerators to be able to run PSSR. It's as simple as that. So, all right, my friends, if you like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.